Yeah, it's like we spend 45 minutes on 10 pages, and then it's like, bing, bang, boom, Rachel killed a bunch of people as a bear.
In 1996, Scholastic began publishing Animorphs. Over the next 6 years, Catherine Applegate and her husband, Michael Grant, under the pseudonym KA Applegate, produced 54 main series books, several spin-offs, and inspired a TV series, graphic novels, and a cult following. We can't tell you where we live. We can't even tell you our last names. But we can tell you our thoughts and feelings on this series, book by book. I'm Miranda.
I'm Eddie.
And I'm Chris.
And we are the Anidorks. These may be kids' books, but we discuss dark themes and mature content. There may also be some explicit language. Listener discretion is advised.
Right, so when we last left our heroes, they were stuck to the sticky red tongue of a Taxxon that had come flinging out to suck them up as cockroaches.
I want to know what Taxxon's names sound like. I also want them to have names.
Yeah.
Like Jim?
Or Lil Guy.
I feel like there'd be lots of clicking
like
noises.
Guy?
Like,
it would be like, no, Taxxon language is like tearing apart two pieces of Velcro.
So also when we left our heroes, everything had frozen. We don't know why.
Oh my God, I forgot all about that.
It's crazy. One of the notes is that it was more than just that, like, things weren't moving, like everything had completely stopped. And there's a line that is, there were no smells because the air itself had stopped moving.
Oh man, I missed that 100%.
It is a wild line. It is so good.
Oh, that's so cool.
And it smelled so good too because of French fries.
Right,
so.
We were in the cafeteria.
Yeah.
It's funny to think about, like, what's the speed of smell? The speed of smell is a universal constant.
But so everything is completely frozen, and then they begin to demorph. Not of their own volition. They're just becoming human again.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then, like, Rachel is wondering, am I hallucinating this whole thing? And Jake says something I really like here, because this sounds like something I would say, which is like, well, if it is a hallucination, I'm having it also. Like,
I would also like to believe this is not real. Can I join you?
yeah.
I feel like it must run in the family because Jake was who was always thinking that he was dreaming and that he was just waiting to wake up in that first book.
You know what makes it easiest to lie? Not knowing what the truth is, baby.
At some point, they become too heavy. They're too far along in their morph to stick to the Taxxon's tongue, and so they fall.
Yeah, they just kind
That's
of
just
fall
physics.
off.
Yeah, that's just physics.
They get their appendages back. Axe is back in his Andalite body, and they're all back in their morphing suits.
And they realize that this may be a gift from God, because as they were having their required every book Toy Story 3 moment, they got their asses saved, and they were like, maybe we should get the fuck out of here. Maybe
they look around and there's tons of controllers eating, drinking coffee, about to talk. They don't care what's going on anymore. I mean, they care, but they're like, we should use this as our excuse to get the fudge out of here.
Because they're seeing Hork-Bajir, Taxxons, they're surrounded.
Yeah, and one of them has like one of those statue moments with a Hork-Bajir where they like walk up to it and they're like, I've never seen one so still.
Sitting still, yes.
Yeah, salad shooters on legs, as Marco would say, walking razor blades. And it must just be that, like, KA Applegate had recently purchased and feared a salad shooter.
Or
right?
my personal headcanon is that she was having pretty bad insomnia around the time she was writing this, and she kept seeing the infomercial at like 2 a.m.
Nice. Which is why when I write my YA sci-fi, it's going to be the magic bullet.
They walk out of the cafeteria.
Yes, when they leave, they see someone foreign and familiar all at the same time, you know?
Yeah.
A face they know, but that they haven't seen.
A tall, gangly, dreamy, according to a few of our narrators.
That's right.
Boy.
He had hair that looked as if it had never been combed.
Mm-hmm.
That's neglect.
And he had eyes like he had never been loved.
And it's Tobias.
Tobias, it's fucking Tobias. Oh my God.
Human body.
Yeah.
He's back. He's healed. He's whole.
The boy is back. The boys
No more
are back in
burp.
town. Boys are back in
The
town.
burbs are not in town. The burbs are not in town.
Rachel is overcome. She just feels the need to touch him and know that he is real and hug him. And she runs over to him and she scares him. And he tries to fly away. He flaps his arms like wings trying to fly away. And that, like, it was such a nice, for me, parallel to in book 3 when he tried to run away after he had killed for the first time.
Yeah.
And he tried to run away on his human legs, but he fell
yes.
over because he was a bird. This is like that same moment juxtaposed in the opposite context, and I just really like it.
He, like myself, is troubled by context switching.
It's so nice seeing. I mean, it's sad because he's clearly not used to this body anymore. But I love this moment, getting to see Tobias again, even if we don't know why. He's back in human morph.
She does get to hug him, and he's equally confused as to why he's here. He's like, I was just being burb, and then I was here in my body.
Yeah.
Do you think he fell?
He was probably in the air. Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. Yeah. Or he like more fell and like just walked into human form.
I don't know. It was instantaneous, as they say. Like,
Here's a question. This is a question. Sorry, I did not mean to pause that long. I'm curious if he's aging, if his human body is aging.
yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it's only been like 3-4 months, but like, man, if he's trapped in there for years, how are we to deal with that? Like, if he comes out and has missed his adolescence, that's gonna sting. That's gonna sting. I mean, way to skip puberty. It was awful, but how are you gonna explain being a fully grown adult without having known any of that?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's wild. Like,
that's
the
all.
only
We don't know,
way it can be okay is if he like has his memories wiped, or I don't know.
So Axe points out what everyone knows after Tobias says that he was flying and then he just suddenly was human again. Time has stopped for everyone but us. I can feel it.
Oh, and he's the only one who can do that because he has that internal chronometer sense.
Oh, yeah, he does.
Good point.
There you go.
I like this phrase that Cassie says. She asks, is this some trick of Visser 3's? And I think...
A trick
of the Visser.
A trick of the
Trick of
Visser?
the Visser.
Yeah.
Just a trick of the Visser.
Just a trick of the Visser. A simple trick of the Visser.
It does sound like some sort of like Cockney rhyming slang.
It does. It's a real pisser, a trick of the Visser.
Yeah, it's like I gotta take a wicked pisser.
I gotta take a wicked pisser. It's a trick of the Visser.
Trick of the Visser.
I'm gonna try using that and see how quickly I get kicked out of coffee shops.
So, Cassie thinks it might be Visser 3, but Axe says that this is way beyond Yerk technology. It's way beyond Andalites. Like, this is not technology that he is privy to. And then a voice sort of comes from everywhere and nowhere and seems like it comes from inside you, but it's not a sound. And it comes with these words. What? Humility? From an Andalite? And I'm like, this guy gets it.
Yeah, this guy does.
This guy gets it with these fucking cocky ass Andalites.
It's true. And it is like, this is the first time we've heard from another species other than Yerks. So, like,
who obviously have a bone to pick. So
it is not in brackets, we should say. It's in.
It's not.
Right.
It's in caps, all caps.
It's in a new, different font.
But so whoever's talking also is skeptical of the virtues of Andalites. So
Marco screams, which I love. I love that Marco's the one that screams here.
Yeah!
So we do hear it. The voice came from everywhere at once and from nowhere. It wasn't a voice, not really. It wasn't even thought speak. It was like an idea that simply popped into your head. The words exploded like bursting balloons inside your own thoughts.
That's like a weirdly creative sentence for these books. Yeah, I really like that. Like, it's like the words are inside the balloon and then just reveal, reveal, reveal. It's like, it's kind of cool. I can like palpably see it.
So Rachel starts to react as though there's some sort of physical threat, and this voice tells her there is no threat, and it calls her by name.
No, Rachel, there is no threat, and I know your name.
And Tobias is like, it knows your name!
And then Axe is like freaking out.
Shaking.
And then the creepy voice comes in. And I just feel like this is going to be one of those sections where we're reading a lot from the book here, but Aximili Esgaroth still has begun to guess what I am. It's Werner Herzog. It's Werner Herzog. That's who's the Ellimist.
I can't do a Werner Herzog voice.
I can't either, but that's what this whole episode is going to be.
Axe shouts out, Ellimist.
Ellimist.
Do not be afraid. I will appear in a physical form. You can understand.
And then in another wonderful description, we get that she can't describe it. The air in front of her, no, not in front, maybe behind or beside, around.
Dimension!
You know what? It just
Dimensions
opened.
Are suggestions.
It just opened from nothing. There was nothing. It was solid, and then it opened.
The idea of air is solid is one of those really fun, like, you're just stuffing concepts in a way that hurts. Like, it's like...
So a humanoid figure appears. It's shaped like a person.
2 arms, 2 legs, average fingered hands.
Yeah, normal fingered hands as far as we know.
Glowing blue skin.
Like a painted light bulb. I really like that as an I don't know why that's such a specific.
He seemed like an old man, but with a force of energy that was definitely not frail.
Like Werner Herzog.
Yeah. He could take a bullet. Werner Herzog.
Like Werner Herzog.
Yeah. His hair was long and white. His ears were swept up into points.
Like Werner Herzog.
See, I'm getting Rasputin
Elfis.
vibes.
Ah, yeah.
Wait, what'd you say, Miranda? I'm sorry, I wasn't listening. I was too cool for you.
I said I'm getting Rasputin vibes.
Yeah, Mad Monk.
His eyes were black holes that seemed to be full of stars.
That's very Rasputin.
It's very cool.
Nice. I'm an Ellimist, he said, speaking with an actual voice. As your Andalite guest. I don't know why, but his voice changed a lot when he became human.
And you're just channeling the character. I'm
an Ellimist.
He sounds like, what's his name? Not Pee Wee Herman.
Well, I'm an Ellimist. Oh.
I forget what the guy's name is.
You're going to have to do better than that because it's a podcast where nobody knows what you're talking about, dude.
Yeah, we'll just cut it. We'll cut it and see what we say.
No, it's too late. I just did my best Pee Wee Herman voice of my life. That is making it in this episode, okay?
So anyway, the Ellimist identifies himself. Axe is like freaking the fuck out. And he's like, well, your little human friends aren't afraid of me. Like, what's the problem? And he's like, they don't know what you can do. They don't know about you. I do know about you. And he's like, please, you know fairy tales, you know, mythology that the Andalites have taught you. And Rachel's like, well, maybe someone should tell us either, the fairy tale or the truth, one, the other, both, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. So the vibe, just to like hop into Star Trek Analogy Corner, which is apparently my only segment on this show. But Star Trek Analogy Corner, if the ants were the Borg, if the Yeerks are Borgs, then this is like Q. This is like the continuum. This is Q. He's a sweeter Q. So Q shows up in the first and last and many in between episodes of Star Trek.
The Next Generation?
Mm-hmm, the Next Generation specifically. He's an otherworldly entity who only appears as bipedal so that we can perceive of him. And his whole, he was tasked by an organization that I believe is called the Continuum to determine the fitness of humans to be allowed to explore beyond certain boundaries in the universe. And
that's very similar to what we're going to learn about the Ellimist. That's true.
Yeah.
And these were cohorts, Next Generation was going on around the same time as these books were being written.
That's true.
So.
That's true.
And these books have referenced Star Trek a few times. So
it's true.
Gilbert Gottfried. That's who it was.
Gilbert Gottfried! Iago!
Rest in peace, King.
Rip, yeah. Gilbert Gottfried. Gilbert Gottfried, we love you.
All right. In tribute, we'll do Ellimist's voice is Gilbert
I'm not gonna do a Gilbert Gottfried. But I will share this story to immortalize it on the Anidorks podcast. Growing up, I was a very impatient child, and my dad and I would be out together. And he probably did this to you too, Miranda.
He did.
But he would, whenever we were being impatient, he would just turn and in a Jafar voice, he would go, "Patience, Iago, patience."
Was Gilbert Gottfried Jafar?
He was Iago.
Oh, Iago. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes. All throughout our childhood, that was the line that our dad clung to from Aladdin.
I say it to myself
Iago.
to calm myself down. Yeah. I go, "Patience, Iago, patience."
Axe gives us a little bit of a description of the Ellimist. He says they're all powerful. They can cross 1,000,000 light years in a single instant. They can make entire worlds disappear. They can stop time itself.
Sounds like you.
Marco says, this one doesn't look all that powerful.
Yeah, he's like, I could beat this guy up. Just let me at him. He looks old and made of light bulbs. Famously breakable light bulbs.
That's really good.
Axe says, don't be a fool. That's not his body. He has no body. He is everywhere at once, inside your head, inside this planet, inside the fabric of space and time.
And Chris...
I didn't write this. I didn't write this joke. I didn't write it.
Is it... Is it in my butthole?
I just thought, like, that would be the funniest thing to say right then and there. Like, if I was in the room and somebody was trying to, like, impress me too much, I'd be like, "Are you in my butthole right now?"
And you know the Ellimist would go... Yes.
Yes, it could be said that I am in your rectum.
He's like, I was existing in the space of your rectum before your rectum was a thought in the mind of the universe.
God, Werner Herzog makes everything classy.
I don't know if that's the effect it had for me.
Anyway... They ask him, they're like, okay, so what's the big deal? You stopped us. You clearly know we're we're morphing. You demorphed us. You clearly have incredible powers. So what's the catch? You didn't just save us. What's going on? And why is Tobias here?
And the Ellimist answers, because you must decide. I'm not doing Werner Herzog's
You're doing
voice.
Great. You're doing great.
Decide what? The fate of your race, the Ellimist said. The fate of the human race. Very dramatic.
That's a really good Werner Herzog.
Thank you.
You sounded just like him.
Thank you.
So I don't want to just verbatim read this part of the book, but I kind of want to just verbatim read this part of the book. It is so wild. Marco goes into his normal, casual, like, that's it. That's the, just a little decision like that. Whoa, you had us sweating for nothing. And the Ellimist goes on this weird, like, tangent. He's like, it's not our place to interfere with the, evolution of a race. It's not our place to interfere with their society. But when something's close to going extinct, when there's going to be some sort of event, we step in and we try to preserve some of it. He says, and I quote, "We love life. All life, but especially sentient life forms."
I'm high on GOD.
Like Homo sapiens. And then he goes on to echo something. He says that our planet is particularly beautiful. He calls it a priceless work of art.
All right, Carl Sagan. I guess it could also be Carl Sagan. That would be kind of cute. Rip. God, I miss him.
But then he proceeds to take them on a tour of all the beautiful, wonderful things about Earth.
Yes, he takes them to many a survivor shoot location.
Yeah.
First it's Borneo, and then it's the Australian outback.
Micronesia, and then it's Sahara.
The Ellimist is Jeff Probst. There you go.
I actually, it's so funny. It's so funny. I'm so happy to hear you say that, because I think somewhere you asked who would voice the Ellimist or something like that, and I almost wrote Jeff Probst, and then I was like, shut up, you jackass.
He
Don't
ripped
do that.
a hole in reality, walked in and said, "Come on in, guys."
Come on in, guys. Come on in.
Suddenly, without warning, the Ellimist did it again. He opened... Yeah, sorry for you. This is a challenge. That's what this decision is.
You gotta dig deep.
Dig deep.
Suddenly, without warning, the Ellimist did it again. He opened space. So suddenly, they're no longer standing in the Yerk pool. They're underwater.
But they're not. Too. The water's not touching them.
They're not
they
wet.
Can breathe. Yes. Mm-hmm. It's a very dry scuba dive. It's how I prefer my scuba dives.
Have you guys seen that video where the two guys are arguing about whether or not fish are wet?
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna show that to Eddie after this recording session.
Rachel says we stood, me, Cassie, Jake, Marco, Axe, and Tobias. And then she's struck again that Tobias is in his own human body. And they're in the middle of the ocean, suspended in the water, but dry.
And they're looking at a beautiful, beautiful coral reef with all its myriad species swimming and frolicking. Dolphins go by, stingrays go by, squid pulsate for some reason.
I like these moments, though, that we're going to get here because it does feel like, I say this at some point in my notes, it reminds me of book 4 in that we just kind of get to hang out and have these, I think, like more carefully delivered descriptions. Like the language feels more deliberate, and then we just kind of slow down and we're just appreciating these descriptions of these environments.
That's right. And while it's happening, the Ellimist is going, lovely, lovely.
Showing photos from his vacation.
I do get that feeling, though. It did feel like a moment to revel in the beauty of the thing they're trying to save.
Guys, new theory. I have a third person, not Werner Herzog, not Jeff Probst or Carl Sagan, a fourth person, as to who the Ellimist could be, just to make it a little bit gayer in the best possible way. Miss Frizzle. This is the magic school bus moment.
What was her voice like? Okay, thank you.
I can't do it very well.
It was a ho.
It was very throaty.
It was very throaty, very down. Like, Lily Tomlin, man.
The lovely is so funny, though, because it does feel like someone sat you down, they're showing you their home videos, and they're just, they're more into it than anyone else watching.
And then we cut to an African savanna, also beautiful, animals springing around.
Season 3.
Very wonderful, and we get... Look at it.
Look at it. Then in an instant, deep jungle. A live jaguar prowling while monkeys chattered in the tree canopy above. Snakes as long as a person slithered across tree branches. The air reeked of heavy perfume of a million flowers, Chanel No. 5 specifically. We heard the sounds of frogs, insects, monkeys, and wild screaming. Birds.
In all the universe, no greater beauty. In 1,000 worlds, no greater art than this.
You're like Gladys. Yeah, you're like, in all the universe. That's a good Gladys.
We flew invisible through the steel and glass canyons of New York City. They go to villages at the edges of jungle rivers. A rock concert in Rio de Janeiro.
It's Dave Matthews Band. I've decided.
They go all over. They go Rio de Janeiro, Seoul, Durban. I don't know where Durban is. The Philippines. They go to an open air market specifically in the Philippines, which I think is interesting. And the Ellimist says, yes, go ahead.
Sorry. This just fits Werner Herzog so hard because he really does hate humanity. Humans. Crude. Primitive, but capable of understanding.
I feel like he would be supposedly capable of understanding.
And yet, I'm told, capable of understanding.
And the Ellimist will hammer that point a couple of times. That capable of understanding is very important to him.
Yeah.
The last thing he shows us before we come back to the Yerk pool is a painting of irises. I assume it's famous. And that I'm meant to know what it is.
Yeah.
Editor's note. There are several paintings by Vincent van Gogh which feature irises and one by Claude Monet. I am uncultured.
But the point more there, I think, is in his capable of understanding line. He's showing that humans don't just exist in a beautiful world. They make it part of their mission to capture some of that beauty in art. You know what I mean? And like, I feel like that's the statement he's making with the painting. And this all just comes off as a very pro-human ordeal. Although he says he's not, he's totally impartial or whatever. And he's not getting involved.
And he says, humans are an endangered species. Soon you will disappear.
They ask him what the whole point of this was. And he's like, look, you guys are
numbered.
Gonna lose.
Wait, maybe it's him in human form. That's John DiMaggio. Famed voice actor John DiMaggio. And then at that point, this is all something Eddie wrote, by the way, but it's so good.
Speaking with the voice of acclaimed voice actor John DiMaggio.
Bender? Marco squealed.
Waka? Cassie fused.
No, it's Marcus Phoenix, Rachel growled.
It's Jake the dog, exclaimed Jake the human.
That's my favorite part. After all these years, Axe said, I wonder, could it really be you? The Ellimist's eyes twinkled. Crewman? Axe finished from the Animatrix. So good, Ed.
Did you just really roll up on his IMDb page?
Yeah.
But very seriously, it's Jake the dog exclaimed Jake the human. It's really fucking good.
So anyway, he knows and he tells them, look, the Yeerks are more advanced than you. They're gonna continue to infest the human race. The Andalites will try to stop them, but you're gonna lose. The only humans that are gonna be left are human controllers. And Rachel is freaked. Because he doesn't, at that point, explain why he's there. He just goes, oh yeah, you have a decision to make about the fate of your species. Well, you're all gonna die.
He's telling them they're doomed. And she says that it's there's no room for debate. He spoke every word with utter and complete certainty. He wasn't guessing. He knew. He knew that we would lose. And so he goes back to this offer again that he can save a small sample of the human race. Actually, he hasn't gotten to this yet, right? So he tells them his offer.
The very next page.
He can save a small sample, or the Ellimists together can save a small sample of the human race and basically act like, I think Marco's the one who describes it as putting them in a zoo, taking an endangered species and protecting a small group of them while the rest.
Tobias, actually, that says it's
Oh, really?
a zoo. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny because I remember it as Cassie. But
Cassie talks about the conservation aspect, but Tobias is the one I think that specifically says zoo. Because he's it's so much reminded me of the Mitch Hedberg joke where it's oh no, that frog, perhaps he will settle near me and I can pet him. I will put him in a jar with a stick and a leaf
Smacky
to recreate what he is used to.
And I will poke holes in the top because he's damn sure used to air.
Yeah. It's that very much felt like what this, Smacky the Frog, the fire safety mascot.
Yeah.
He also says that they would preserve the Animorphs and their families and then a selection of other people to get a good genetic sampling. But then he says they would also preserve a few non-human species that are of special interest to them.
Gross.
I want to know about this. I'm what is going on?
Yeah, that's a good point, yeah.
Because Chris is assuming it's because they're sexy, but I'm assuming...
No! No! I said gross. I said it gross as in it disgusts me they wouldn't save them all, Miranda. Jesus Christ, dude. The hell? Throwing me under the bus. Well, I guess I have to drive. Cassie's I was surprised to hear Cassie actually laugh. He's some kind of environmentalist, like me. Like me, the environmentalist Cassie, she said. We're the spotted owls. We are the rhinos. We are the children.
We're the endangered species, and he's the environmentalist trying to save us.
Right, and the Ellimist is we've got this wonderful jar with a stick and a leaf in it.
And then Tobias comes in and says, no, it's a zoo. That's what he has for us, a zoo.
Tobias, he has a zootopia for us.
Yeah. Tobias is the first to, I think he's the one who draws a hard line immediately, right? He does not want to take.
Well, he's been fully radicalized. He believes in this war. He wants to die in this war, I feel like sometimes. And the Ellimist is we don't impose our will. It's your decision. But, we are telling you that you will die.
Yeah.
If you don't. do this.
And decide right now, too, is what they say. Like,
yeah, they say, how long do we have to decide? And he's like, you have now. Like, now-ish.
I'm just going to read this. If you decide the answer is yes, you and some of those you are close to will be instantly taken to your new home. So they will move this moment if they say yes. If the answer is no, I will return everything to the way it was when I interrupted time. And then Rachel asks, you mean we're back in Roach Morph headed down that Taxxon's throat? Ellimist says, everything is as it was. Our purpose is not to interfere.
And they're like, and Tobias? And he's like, everything as it was. That is not my job. Like,
it annoys me. I think that they're right to be frustrated because, like, he did wait until they had no choice.
Yeah, that's what Marco calls him on it, and Jake does too. They're like, you waited until we were... Not only is our species in danger, but you waited until we personally were about to die.
Right.
So that you could be offering us literal life or death. You're like, if you say yes, I'll take you to this planet where you'll live a suboptimum life, but it will be a life. Or I can put you back in the mouth of the Taxxon that was eating you.
But the thing that just blows my mind is, like, how did he... Like, I guess Ellimist really do know, because, like, how did he pick this Toy Story 3 moment out of all the other Toy Story 3 moments? How did he go, no, this is the time where they're actually going to die and I should make them this offer?
That's a good question.
I think we learn the answer to that down the line, but I don't think we know right now.
Okay. All right. I'll
An
accept
interesting
that as an
note
answer.
I would take in this scene, and this scene is very dense. It's not very long, but it is very dense. Axe says, Ellimists are not interested in what is fair. Ellimists give you a choice that is no choice at all. Does Axe know about Ellimists doing this in other situations?
So what I would imagine...
Fairy tales.
And if so, why? Like, what does he think this species is? Like, because here's my thing. If Axe knows about this, is it only because the Andalites have personally come so close to wiping out species before? Why would you know what the Ellimist does if you had never either
if
been
you were a
helped by them or been against a species that was helped by them?
Well, can I ask, rereading this part, I felt like maybe not everything, and obviously Axe is saying this here, but not everything the Ellimist is saying is to be trusted here, right? Like,
that is true. That is absolutely true.
But so to your question, Miranda, about, like, I do feel like Ellimists sound like they're from, in the lore of the Andalites, they're a kind of trickster figure who offers these bad deals, or these like, as Zach says, deals that are not really deals at all.
Yeah.
It is true what Cassie says. It's like, if you come upon an animal in a trap and you make a choice as someone not caught in a trap to help the animal caught in the trap, the animal has no choice in that. They may still be scared, like, it's like, and then the animal leaves with, like, thank God that human didn't do something shifty because they had all the power in that situation. Like, the Ellimists are so game-breakingly powerful, it would be unwise to trust them.
Seemingly they don't use that power, though. Like,
no, it strikes me as a little Doctor Who Time Lordy, where he's like, there are these crucial moments that we're not allowed to interfere in. These, like, benchmark moments almost that are pivotal, have to happen the way they happen.
To take it back to Star Trek, it's like, it's very Prime Directive-y. They have a rule and you're allowed to break it, but you have to know you're breaking it.
Yeah.
And the Ellimist might fall into that category.
Yeah.
The Ellimist definitely does seem to have an agenda going on, even this early.
It's also, it just opens up the books. The ceiling on these books lifts so much in this moment because...
Yeah.
Oh, it's dizzying. It's dizzying to think about. And the fact that he says they have to decide now and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But, like, he literally tells them they have to decide now. The present that we're living in is they have to deal with this tremendous pressure.
Yeah.
They have to pull the trigger on this plan now or they'll never get another offer.
Yeah.
They kind of go to a vote. It's never really talked about that they're going to vote.
Yeah.
But that's sort of how they're approaching the situation.
Apparently we're doing democracy and not consensus.
Tobias is really mad and feels really used. He feels his presence here in his human body has been used to try to manipulate them into saying yes because it would save Tobias.
Yeah.
And he's very angry. And for that alone, he wants to vote no. He doesn't even want to think about it.
Tobias is so radicalized, dude. The fact that that's where he lands is remarkable. considering the hardship he's been through.
And they sort of say that to him. It's like Cassie wants to at least think about it. She's like, we need to be trying to be thoughtful and rational about this situation. And Jake is like, Tobias, like, you're the one who's going to go back in a hawk body if we say no. And Tobias is like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I've said what I feel. And Marco chimes in. So we have 2 no votes, Tobias and Rachel, 1 vote yes from Cassie. And Rachel, who, remember, this book is about, this is her book, didn't vote. She didn't say how she felt. This is another part of them projecting things onto her. This has been her whole theme through this book, is people expecting her to behave a certain way. And at this point, Marco's not even waiting for her to vote. And while she does feel like she would have to vote no, she does feel like she has to fight. That's a pretty icky feeling.
Yeah. But she does say, if Tobias was ready to stay in the fight with all he had to lose, I couldn't do less. And she tells the Ellimist, or she tells the group, actually, what this character wants us to do is run away. He wants us to abandon our people and our planet just to save ourselves and the people we care about personally. And I feel like this ticks both. It's what Rachel's saying in this moment, but it does also, this idea of running away does sound like what I think the group projects onto her, too, that she wouldn't do that, right?
Running away. Let's do it. Free from these ties that bind.
We got a little flicker of a Tobias human smile.
Yeah.
More than we've seen in a very long time.
His old human smile. I love these moments. I like that KA Applegate doesn't forget that we haven't seen human Tobias in a long time. And I feel like we get these little moments where Rachel's keeping track of that. Rachel is the one character paying attention to Tobias.
Yeah.
Axe says that he's not going to vote because he says this is a decision for humans. I fight the Yeerks. I follow Prince Jake, but I don't trust this Ellimist, however great this power. And I don't buy this moment because I feel like if Axe... Wait, actually, no, Axe wouldn't go to the planet, would he?
No, I don't know what would happen to Axe.
But I feel like
That's
not
a good point.
a great...
They never say what would happen to Axe.
Yeah.
It's true.
So I was assuming he would go to the planet, which would be... It wouldn't be a thing for fighting the Yeerks. He would be removed from it. But even if he's left here, that's bad for fighting the Yeerks. I don't know if I buy that he has no stake in this. Like, he wants them to fight the Yeerks, right?
Well, and he even kind of does that. I mean, he says, he's like, but I don't trust this Ellimist, and, I don't think you should either.
Yeah.
Like, he wants to appear
neutral.
Not impartial, but like he wants to let them make the decision, but it's like crushing him.
Yeah.
Cassie comes in with the general, isn't it better, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
Well, it's actually the trolley problem.
Yeah, it's the trolley problem.
It's the trolley, but it is a bizarre one. It's like, if we're going to lose the war and everyone dies, or if we can knowingly abandon and save certain people.
So in the middle of this conversation, Cassie... trying to be like, maybe we should think about this. Maybe we should just slow down.
Someone should point out that time has stopped. There is no slower to go.
Rachel has realized that Jake and Marco are looking in the center of the room. There's a big circular column. And she looks at this column, and there's someone sort of suspended in midair in this clear tube.
I like this moment.
Yeah, I like this too.
And she realizes... it's a drop shaft, or similar to the drop shaft that they used in book 5, that thing that you just got in and it took you places. Now, they had only ever used it to go down, but maybe it could go up. And she realizes that this human controller who's in the tube has about shoulder-length brown hair. And because it's not up over her head, that means she must be going up, not falling down.
Yeah.
Brilliant deduction.
They have now identified a way out of the Yeerk base.
Mr. Ellimist, Marco said, thanks for your offer, but I don't think so. I don't think I want to be in your zoo. And I don't like being muscled like this. I'm glad you like Earth and all, but we'll take care of it the best way we can.
I love
by
this
destroying it.
This little speech reminds me so much of Marco's speech in book 6 to the Yeerk.
Yeah.
In Jake's head when he says, Mr. Yeerk, it's cold. I want to go home.
He's playing the adorable card.
Yeah.
He does say Mr. Blank a lot. It's really good.
Yeah. So that makes it 4 against. Rachel, Marco, Tobias, and Axe. Cassie alone.
Cassie is sort of leaning in favor of going with the Ellimist's plan because, as she says, she works with conserving animals and treating wounded animals, and they are scared of the people who are trying to help them. And if they would just relax and let it happen, it would actually really improve their life. So are they just the scared animals in a cage trying to get away from the person trying to heal them?
Yeah.
And the answer is we'll never know.
Yeah, they think about it.
Rachel in particular gets reflective here. Rachel's also thinking about her family is about to be split up. Her dad is moving across the country for this new job, and he's asked her to go with him. But no matter what, she can't have her family be in one place. If she chooses to move with her dad, she's also away from her friends. And what the Ellimist is offering is something that would technically solve her personal problem of all of her loved ones being in different places.
Because he seems to indicate that your families would come with you. He's like, people you want to come with you could come with you. And so she actually is given a way to solve not only the Yeerk problem. I mean, it doesn't solve the Yeerk problem, but solve the problem of dying in the fight against the Yeerks. But it also solves her more personal problem of trying to figure out how she's going to cope with her parents living in different places.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
She doesn't really get a chance to answer because Prince Jake, says to the Ellimist, you know what bothers me? You say the human race will lose to the Yeerks, but I don't believe you can tell the future. See, you don't know how we're going to vote. If you did, you wouldn't bother to be here, would you?
Cassie smiled sadly. If you guys vote to stay, I will too.
Jake reaches out to take Cassie's hand, not the Ellimist's hand.
No,
this is the end of part 2 of book 6.
Patty cake, baker.
Mr. Ellimist, I guess you have your aunt, and then it cuts out, and we go.
And then boom, instantly, as Jake says, sir, they're back in their roach morphs, and the voice says, if you live, I will ask once more. If you live.
This is actually how I hear it now. The repetition that the Ellimist uses, like, it makes sense with that kind of, like, robotic voice. Yeah.
So they're back in the Taxxon's mouth.
Yeah.
Jake is shouting, get out of morph, get out of morph. And Rachel, she doesn't need to be told twice, but he did tell her twice.
And she's mad about it.
She's mad about it.
Furious, even.
And here's the thing. This is a new tactic we have not seen, because they were getting gobbled up by a Taxxon. That is well in progress, and we all know that morphing takes a minute. So
it's true, but it could be faster than he can digest them.
No, of course. I'm just saying, like, there must have been a comedic delayed effect, like two Taxxons fighting over the same bug. One of them just slurps them up, and then it's like, damn it, you always get the good bugs. And it's like, well, you're going to have to be faster than that. The early Taxxon gets the cockroach, and then he explodes from the inside.
I would keep a Taxxon around if I had a cockroach problem. I feel like that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So they're morphing back. There's a line that says, I tumbled blind and terrified through hot, viscous goo, to which I say something, birthing trauma.
Yeah.
They demorph. They start running into each other inside the Taxxon, which I think is really funny. It's like, I felt really a cockroach, but too big and also not totally cockroach shaped.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And this wins the award for fucking grossest sentence. You called this one, Ed. You get to read it.
I felt the gut of the Taxxon spasming as it tried to deal with this deadly growing meal.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
The spasming stomach or gut, I guess. Yeah.
No good. As they grow back, they start turning into humans and they realize they can't breathe Taxxon guts. So they start to panic a little bit. Imagine, if you will, 5 babies and a horse in this Taxxon stomach. And they're getting bigger and bigger. And imagine, as they realize they can't breathe, the horse is like, oh, I got a razor blade now. And they're like, and the horks with its razor blade tail cuts them out and C-sections them into a new life.
It's true.
How much do you think that this Taxxon expands before they burst out? Because there's a lot of dialogue happening here for...
I'm saying the Taxxon had a full conversation with the guy who he was trying to get the bugs with.
Yeah.
He's literally making eye contact with somebody and being like, maybe someday you'll get the cockroach. Like these full-grown children just stomp out of his mouth.
And
like,
how far along was Axe in this roach to human morph, or roach to andalite
Roach to
morph?
andalite. Yeah,
He
we don't
grows
know. He
his
just had a tail.
Yeah.
And so they burst out onto the scene.
right.
The people who had been frozen in time are not frozen in time,
They see
But they are
children. They see
frozen in
Right.
disbelief. Yeah.
in leotards, children in leotards, which honestly,
We're only most of the way morphed back from Cockroach.
bug children
Yeah.
in leotards.
Covered
Yeah,
in
it's-
apparently blue-green guts.
Yes.
Yes.
In this moment, thank God, their leotards do not say Animorphs on.
This is the one time we're going against Marco.
Yeah,
It's a
the
good
branding
thing
really
they're not
might have hurt
branded.
us here.
Yeah.
Animal morphing children, it says in like smaller text. Like,
A Yerk yells out, "Get them, or Visser 3 will eat your bones."
Chew your bones.
Chew your
Yeah.
bones. And we've,
Yeah, like
we've
a
been over
dog.
this. Visser 3 eats all his problems.
It's an oral fixation. Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
it's a recurring thing for
It's a
him.
recurring thing for him. He likes to put stuff in his mouth, and that's okay. But it's in the text. It's there in the text. It's all there in the text.
yeah. And let's note, so they're slipping and slithering through the Taxxon's guts. They are also covered. I feel like I didn't hold this in my mind through the scene, but they're covered in Taxxon guts. They're
Yeah,
like,
the
they're-
Yeah,
whole time.
they seem to imply that they're borderline unrecognizable with the
Yeah.
amount of Taxxon guts that's
Yeah,
all
they
over
look
them.
like, they look like lava people or
And
something.
yet, a
Like,
human
yeah.
man tries to choke Rachel the child to death.
Yeah,
his
that
hands do not
sucks.
slip off.
Yeah.
that.
Axe
Yeah.
cuts his hand off.
Yes.
Yeah, Axe should start asking hands on or off. Like, I think
Second to Tobias's, I think Tobias is still in the lead for eye gouging.
eyes in or out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But
Yeah,
Axe
exactly.
is catching
yeah.
up with hand removal.
So Jake has told them to morph, except for Axe, who has combat abilities. He's told them to morph into something more useful. And Rachel, she knows it's risky. She knows she hasn't morphed the grizzly before, but she doesn't think
But
the
she
elephant
tries to do
will
a fucking kickflip over these motherfuckers.
She doesn't think the elephant will fit in the drop shaft, and she wants more power than the wolf, so she decides she's going to morph the bear.
Yes. There's also this has to confirm that there are no security cameras here, because if there are
In the
security
Yerk underground base?
yeah, they would be finished. There would be morphing
Yeah.
children bursting out of a Taxxon and morphing into animals. But
We have not read.
Security cameras weren't that ubiquitous.
yeah.
They were starting to be. And here's what I'll say. You're right, Ed. And this also has a really dark implication, which is I think they left no survivors. Because,
No one
There will
follows
be a-
them.
Yeah, there's a moment later where I'm like, I think they must have killed a lot of people.
That did not cross my mind.
yeah, leave no witnesses. Yeah, just take them all out.
Rachel's got a lot of people in her belly when she gets
Yeah.
back.
Most of the controllers, when Rachel still looks like a human, are focused on Axe because they see Andalite and they attack. So she gets a chance to morph while she watches Axe be attacked. He gets slashed and gashed and all those things.
Mashed.
But
Yeah, he's hurt.
then
Yeah.
she realizes
Trash.
she's not afraid anymore.
And that she's no longer on two legs. She's on all fours.
That's right.
Oh,
She's
yes,
on
in all four
fours.
moments. Ding, 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 ding. Yeah, in all fours moment.
She had become the bear.
Utter confidence, utter fearlessness.
His
Ursa Major.
confidence.
His
lack of fear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's italicized
Yes.
the pressure on the male bear that she is morphed into.
Chris, does Rachel kill here?
Does she kill? Edwin, does she kill young innocent Edwin? Oh my God. Oh my God. To say she kills, she had become bear. She had become powerful.
But she became the bear because of its non-lethal attacks, right?
I don't think that's it.
Kidding. I'm just kidding.
I hate to burst your little bubble here, but
Yeah, Rachel just starts going in on it.
She really starts going at it. And we have like nice like exclamations like the power,
I was a tank.
the ecstasy. It's just
The
like
ecstasy of the kill.
yeah, nothing that challenged her survived.
And you don't narrate to yourself, to your reader. Moore discovered why part of the Latin name for the grizzly bear is horribilis, Unless you're
Horribilis.
killing.
I think it's Ursus horribilis.
Unless you're killing. That's exactly right. I do want to point out there's a couple things that happened to KA while she was writing this. I want to go behind the veil. She has an uptick, and I'm going to check Anidata later. I have not checked, but I swear there's an uptick in the use of the word barely.
Yeah, barely.
And I think that she had bear on the brain, but I'm mad at her for not
for spelling it correctly.
for spelling it.
Well, we don't know. That
correctly.
could have been the editors. That could have been the
No,
editors.
I thought they just thought that she really.
Let's hear a few.
I could barely see the Hork Bashir through the bear's weak eyes. And then there's another one a few pages on.
Yeah. But
Bear's
before
rage.
then, she says she lost herself to the bear's rage. She
Bear's
just totally
violence.
gets out all her violence. She loves it. It's amazing. And the next thing she clearly remembers is being in the drop shaft going up. So I guess it's more of a lift
Trying to
shaft.
kill Jake.
And Jake is going, "You are out of control. You need to morph back." And then she's like, "Oh, I'm trying to kill my cousin."
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that moment so much because it's like, yeah, that's.
It's also that they're being
so
held a
funny.
fixed distance away, and she's like trying to like claw up at him.
I'll get you.
So I was wondering, why does no one just follow them up the drop shaft? But according to you two,
They're all.
they're all,
They might all be dead.
yeah.
Yeah, bud, I'm so sorry. I hate to.
I can't think of any other reason that they wouldn't have.
Unless they hung
Followed them.
out of order sign on the drop shaft, which is, I was just like, why would they not just climb
Maybe they
it?
clogged it as they left.
Yes, with all limbs.
Yeah, they just took a bunch of unconscious people and they jammed them up in the bottom of
Made
the
a
thing.
body clot. Body clot is the grossest thing I think I've ever said.
But also, I liked that Rachel looked at the drop shaft and thought, that's for humans, not for elephants. So I will morph into a grizzly bear.
A bear.
I think the grizzly bear is going to clog it too.
I think it has to fit taxons too. So like,
Yeah.
and taxons are pretty thick. They
Oh,
got
they're
like
so
what
cute to
a
watch.
They're thick
4 foot
boys.
diameter.
They're so cute. Yeah.
Like Augustus Gloop stuck in the
Oh.
tube is what I'm picturing.
so good.
Yeah, or Pooh Bear.
So they make it to the top of the drop shaft.
Which they should start calling an up shaft.
Rachel has fully ungrizzlied. She is a
Yeah.
regular girl. Axe is like trying to morph into his human morph, but he's A, just morphed out of Cockroach not that long ago, and B, is bleeding because he got slashed open. And Cassie tries to, calm Rachel down. She's like, "It's okay. Safe."
You're just a bear. It's okay.
We find out that there were 2 people guarding, looks like 2 human controllers guarding the top of the drop shaft, but we've
Axe
knocked
is
them
already
out.
down them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they go home. Rachel goes home. She passes the fuck out.
They tell her to rest. They specifically tell her to rest. And apparently she gets home and this is like walk of shame style. Like she was so messed up, so tired. Like she showed up in her leotard, in her morphing outfit. She showed up no shoes. She showed up like messed up from the fight, like gruffed up. She was like hung over as shit.
She just goes to bed. Yeah. So she wakes up. She runs into her mom because she wants to use her bathroom.
Not that there's any shame in a walk of shame. I want to correct that right now. That's a walk of pride. I'm just saying she had obviously had a huge night.
It had been a night.
It had been a night.
So her sister's using their shared bathroom. So she pops out and is like, "Can I use your shower?" And her mom gets on her case. She's like, "All right, look, you're wearing a leotard. You came home at 9:30 barefoot and you're still in the same leotard."
And then she goes to cover it up and she's like, "No, I'm fine. I'm fine." To which the mom replies, says the dirty kid in the leotard.
I'm impressed that she made it home by 9:30 after that.
Agreed.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive. But she's like, "You didn't eat dinner. If you're having problems, you can talk to me. I know your dad dropped a lot on you." And Rachel just starts hysterically laughing.
Yeah.
And it's like, "Why would I have problems?" And her mom's like, "I know this has been hard. I have a case I have to get to, but we need to talk, okay? Tonight, we need to talk." And she's just like, can I use your shower or not? Like, and that's so teenager to me. Like, I can hear that in like 12, 13-year-old girl voice. You know what I mean? Coming out, clearly had a horrible night. Mom trying to reach out and her just going, can I use your shower or not?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. And then as she gets into the shower, it all starts coming back to her, exploding out of the Taxxon's stomach. The Ellimist offer, the sight of Tobias back for too brief a time in his own body.
Yeah.
Again. Poor Tobias is back in red-tailed hawkmorph, and he wasn't even in the scene. We don't even get to check back in with him there.
yeah.
And she stays in the shower so long, she's running out of hot water.
Yeah, she uses up all the hot water. She has to tell her younger sister to get her even younger sister to school on time and is like, just leave without me.
It's babies raising babies.
And for the first time, Rachel skips school. She can't even make it out the door. Yeah.
She lays around watching trashy TV. She's probably watching
some
Springer.
editor was like, you need to make it the first time. It can't be like, I do this all the time and it's super cool, kids. Just stop going to school.
And she has a rough day.
Yeah. I wonder who else has skipped school by this point.
Yeah.
Honestly, taking off work on a day when you didn't expect to have to is one of life's great joys.
Well, but would it be such a great joy if your mind was full of being covered in Taxxon guts and splitting one open like a bag of garbage?
If that's what it takes to get off work, I'll do it.
And the
No, it
frozen
wouldn't be
silent screams of involuntary hosts in their cages?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Rachel's
you're
got a
right.
lot she's dealing with.
Are you saying I don't? No, I'm just...
And she starts describing herself as living in two completely different worlds. One world filled with family, school, gymnastics classes, shopping, listening to music, watching TV. And then this whole other life where she's not a big sister, not a first child, not a teacher's pet, which I don't think I realized that Rachel was.
I kind of got that vibe from her.
But she's a warrior.
Yes,
Yeah.
she is a warrior, and she was in a deadly battle last night. And she's in a deadly battle constantly. She's facing impossible odds.
Yeah.
And she
Yeah.
has to keep that totally separate from the rest of her life as a kid.
She gets hungry. She decides it's time to go into the kitchen and make a grilled cheese. Switches on the TV and there, news happens to come on. She sees her dad doing a remote report on location.
At some sort of anime convention. No, it doesn't say
Exactly.
that. It just says it's at a convention center.
It's an anime convention. It's either that or Pax Unplugged. She's doing this reflection while looking right at him, and she happens to turn the sound back on towards the end of his report, and they're congratulating him on his new job. You'll be leaving us soon, and we're all sorry to hear that, but I know it'll be a great opportunity for you.
Yes, it will, my father said. Although I will really miss all the... And Rachel turns TV off there. But I imagine...
In a parallel universe, he was about to say, all of my daughters
No,
who
all
I'm
of the
moving away
daughters.
from.
Yeah, she tosses out her grilled cheese. She can't eat. And
Oh, she didn't eat it?
No.
Are you for real?
No, yeah, she doesn't eat the sandwich. She actually tosses it out the page before.
Damn. I'm hungry now, just hearing that.
I know, I want a grilled
and
cheese.
she, several minutes
Yeah.
later, in a completely unrelated and bizarre turn of events, a large bald eagle soars from the window of her room. Very strange.
Yeah.
Good thing she let him out of there. No, it's just gonna...
That Chapman's across the street. Spy goes,
Chapter 17. Speaking of chaptermans, we all met up later that afternoon at Cassie's barn. We're gonna get to the bottom of some stuff. We're gonna
rolls
debrief.
up to the team meeting, which Axe is not at as normal. He doesn't like to be in his human...
Absent.
He doesn't like to be in his human morph more than he has to, and obviously he can't just spend hours up here as an Andalite, what with Cassie's dad coming in and out all the time, as we established in book 6.
Right, Jake and Marco are already there lolling on bales of hay.
Yep.
Tobias was perched on a crossbeam a few feet over our heads. It hurt to see him back in Hawk.
Yeah, it
Hawkmorph,
really
we hear from
hurt Rachel to see him back as a hawk after last night.
yeah.
They didn't even talk about the fact that they get up to the top of the drop shaft and Tobias isn't there. They don't even talk about in that whole
No.
escape that Tobias just isn't there. He's
He went
gone
back to being a hawk immediately.
somewhere else.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the barn, and everyone just immediately is on Rachel because they know something's off with her because she kind of lost it as a grizzly bear. One, she acquired a grizzly bear morph without anyone knowing, and also because she showed... They know she's morphing to arrive at this meeting. She morphed to arrive at this meeting.
Right. They didn't see her at school, and she showed up in her morph
And she was
outfit.
cool.
So they're like, you clearly, but they're like, that's hours unaccounted for. Like, were you morphing back and forth all day? And she's like, it's not really anybody's business. And Jake is like, hey, you went to the gardens to acquire that bear. And she's like, no, I met that bear at the mall.
My favorite line of the book.
It's a great line.
It's so good.
So good. And like, that is the Rachel we live and die for.
Yeah.
That is our queen.
Yeah.
She's amazing. Yeah, no, they were spying on her all day. Tobias immediately narks on her that he saw an eagle behaving strangely.
That's right.
Yeah.
She realizes she has no privacy. Jake continues pushing, and like Tobias rats her out even further and says like it would have been like hours she was in morph and morphing out at the last minute. And like Jake jumped up, stood right in front of me. His face was just inches from mine. Don't give me your sarcasm, your huddled masses, Rachel. You're acting really weird. That's everyone's business, because if you do something stupid, we could all end up paying the price. You go acquiring a grizzly without backup, you could have been killed. So what? I shot back. You heard the Ellimist. We're doomed. It's going to be the Yerks 1, human 0. We lose, so who cares about anything? Who cares if I skip school or go flying?
And Jake's just really defeated by this. He like the wind is totally blown out of his sails. And he's like, you know what? I don't know. I don't have the answers. I don't want to be I'm sick of trying to have answers. It's up to you. You know what? I don't know what your problem is, but it's yours. You deal with that problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Rachel chimes in like, I had never seen him so tired. You know, 1 minute he's the leader of the Animorphs, and the next he looked exhausted. His eyes were red. He was blinking constantly, and he looked like he was just worn out from breathing.
Yeah.
This is when the big reveal happens. This is really the meat of this section.
She finally blurts out to all her friends, my dad wants me to move out of state with him.
Everyone just stared at her, and Cassie asked the least helpful question imaginable.
It was a really good, do you have a decision? What are you going to do? And Rachel does get upset with it. And she's
I agree with Eddie that it's the wrong place to start an active listening.
Yeah.
I guess so. She does get upset by Cassie asking what she's going to do, because she's like, how can I even think about something so minuscule compared to the stuff we're dealing with? But Cassie comes in with a really important point, and she says different things bother different people. I know how you feel about your dad.
I hear that, but I still think starting with what are you going to do is a great way to get someone to freak the fuck out.
Yes,
That's fair, but I think
that's fair.
But she also didn't assume that the answer was obvious, which I feel like everybody else in that silence was doing. Was, well, obviously Rachel's not going to move with her dad.
Yeah.
Cassie was giving her the space to make an actual decision.
Valid point.
And then she starts straight into a deep panic attack.
Yeah. All of a sudden, I felt like I was choking, like I was ready to explode, like my brain was spinning out of control. It's like, what am I supposed to do?
She's really upset with her dad for dumping this on her, and she's totally right. I mean, I understand I understand she's old enough to make a decision herself.
Yeah.
But
barely. She's a kid, and the dad is absolutely not.
And the way he
dadly.
did it to roll up with takeout and try to act like everything was cool and good and like pitch her on this exciting new life that she's gonna have was
all
totally
to make
manipulative.
himself feel less shitty.
Yeah.
I swear to God, there's just no two ways about it.
Yeah.
So while she's having this panic attack, she has a really good line because Marco tells her to calm down and take it easy, and he goes to call her Xena again. And she says, no, I'm not some stupid old TV character. I'm not some comic book Marco. I'm scared, okay? Just like all the rest of you. I'm scared of what almost happened to me last night. I'm scared just knowing that place exists down there. I'm scared about what happens to me. I just wanted to run away, but I didn't think I could. So I was brave because that's the way I'm supposed to be. But now everyone's going, oh, just come live with me and we'll go to ball games. And hey, forget moving to another state. We have a whole other planet for you. And the more exits I see, the more scared I get. All right? I just think that's like perfection. That's like a perfect little monologue.
I feel like Rachel's character arc in this book is the strongest that any of them have had so far. Like, it's just such a clear internal struggle that she's dealing with in this book. And I think the Yerk stuff just plays off of what she's dealing with in her personal life so well.
Yeah.
And like a moment like this is just, it's, like you said, Miranda, it's perfect.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's a shame that we weren't allowed to use any of this when we did our power rankings. Although some people who remain Eddie and Miranda.
So this speech actually seems to cause Marco to say he's going to change his vote if the Ellimist asks them again, which he said he would.
Mm-hmm. Took the air right out of the room.
Marco's like, listen, if Rachel's going crazy under the pressure, how long do the rest of us have? Like, this is a no-sum, like a zero-sum game. Nobody's winning.
Yeah.
He gives an example of, like, just the other night, he woke up in bed and he didn't know what he was.
Yeah.
And, like, he didn't know if he had hands or fins or claws or talons.
Yeah, which is terrifying.
It really is.
Yeah.
And then he says, after Jake one last time comes in with, we can't give up, Marco says, all we ever do is lose.
Yeah.
And it's just mind-blowing. I mean, he's right. Everything that he says in his whole bit here, that they've only ever made small dents. They've never seen any appreciable difference in the advance of the invasion. And now the Ellimist is showing up, telling them they're going to lose.
Yeah.
So what is the point anymore?
Yeah.
God, it's so dire. It's like, how, like, this is the Toy Story 3 moment.
Yeah.
Like, everything else was merely a prelude. Like, this moment is so monumental to the series, what is happening here. This is not just Marco being scared to engage. Marco has been scared to engage, gone on a journey, decided to engage anyway, then even got his own why I fight moment.
Yeah.
And is now willing to give it up because if he gets his mom on that planet, that's it for him.
That's right. He says he has a couple of conditions for the Ellimist if they're going to take his deal, but that he is now leaning yes.
It's like in every other book, they've actually been on the conveyor belt in Toy Story going towards the fire. But now Marco's pointing out that every book they're on the conveyor belt going into the fire, and that
it's all
on
just
a grand scheme, they're just headed towards the fire anyway.
Right,
so.
and that, like, they never actually got off the conveyor belt.
Yeah.
They were just slowing it down.
Yeah.
It's so dark. It would mean no more battles. It would mean that somewhere, wherever the Ellimist took us, there would be no job in another state for my dad. There would be no more painful decisions for me to make. I opened my mouth and started to speak.
I promised I would ask you again.
Uh-oh, Marco said.
I will show you what you need to understand.
I'm sorry, guys. I meant to take that seriously when I started reading. And then when I got to Marco's,
I really do. Like, I'm not being totally facetious when when that's how I hear the Ellimist in my head is like very monotone.
I definitely hear him as a
Gilbert Gottfried.
Werner Herzog. No. I mean, I love Gilbert Gottfried. Yes. Mad respect for that.
Well, we're casting for the part. We get to try out a couple different.
It's true. It's true.
So yeah, that's the end of this section. Where will the last third of this book take our wily little Animorphs? Well,
it's hard to say.
It's going to be a wild ride. That's all I can say.
Barbecue sauce?
All right.
We'll see you all in Z space. Yeah. May the Kandrona shine and strengthen you all. Yeah.
Thanks for listening to Anidorks. We'll be back soon with lots more to say. Until the Andalites return, or at least until next time. See you soon.